Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Much easier week. Just gonna say that right off the bat. I did start working on like a few other projects for next year, and as such, I kind of lapsed on a few of the basic things for the channel this week. I let a video go out that didn't have, well, it didn't have anything. it was the file name of like Retro 4.3 or whatever it was. I forgot to make the thumbnail, I scheduled it, said I was going to do it, just didn't. Distracted by too many different things. And that's a product of a couple things. One, I'm trying to kind of nail home that I want a more Souls-focused channel on the side alongside this one. And so I've started preparing content for that channel for when I eventually release it, though I have to kind of get like a baseline of a few things I want to put out, and I'm going to need footage from this week in order to do some of that. Because it's going to be weird kind of just immediately jumping into a point of content creation on that when I haven't like built anything up prior. Because if I want to talk about like patch updates like Lies of P or Elden Ring or DLCs or trailers, you know, to do it when there's nothing really happening and we're basically in kind of a kind of like a mellow area when it comes to Souls likes at the moment. You know, Lord of the Fallen came and passed, Lies of P came and passed. You know, we don't know when DLC's happening for any of those. There's nothing really happening in the scene at the moment. I'm just trying to figure out where my place is with that. So I have a few ideas to get the channel initially going, and then kind of like the natural flow of events and doing the same kind of stuff that I normally do here over there. Seems like kind of like a logical progression that I can just kind of ride along, you know, tangential to this channel when there's less going on, so I don't have to force anything out that's too crazy, you know? So that's what I'm looking at the moment. And that's where a lot of my efforts went this week, on top of getting ready for a streamathon event I'm doing for the end of the year. My family always combined my birthday and Christmas, so I'm going to too. I'm doing like a birth week celebration where people can, you know, contribute towards getting me to do stuff, spin a wheel that can make me do some exercises, or I've got you can kind of see the box right there. That's the Hot Ones box from all the sauces from this season, so I could gradually work through those as well. So, yeah. I got a bunch of stuff planned, so probably not going to be too busy YouTube video wise this week. I'm trying to think. I have my 16 arcade video that I actually it's already uploaded. It's just not public. State of the Realm I forgot to upload on Saturday, so I'll get that out this week as well. So yeah, we'll have like 3 or 4 videos out this week still, even with all that going on. But be sure to stop by the stream and get some shenanigans. I'm starting with the Final Fantasy Shuffler on Christmas Day. That's basically, it's Final Fantasies 1 through 9. But the games randomly swap, and I let people in the chat adjust what they want those timer changes to actually look like. Do I want it to be once every, like, you know, 5 to 10 minutes? Do they want it to be every like 1 to 3 minutes? They want it to be like once every half an hour? You know, all those things are possible with that. And I should be able to continue my save file from the last time I did it. Since I don't think I've touched it, moved it, deleted it, anything. I'll be nailing down all those details today. But figured I'd give you those quick little announcements about what I've got going on, what I've been working on. And with that, move into the Q&A, because I ate, I'm digesting now, and then I'm going to do gym after the fact. So that should be good. Anyway, thanks to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to support. All my content's available for free, but I appreciate them all the same. And also, SteelSeries, don't forget, I have that Sonar program. It's SteelSeries GG, basically their software for, you know, if you have a bunch of SteelSeries, you know, headsets and you know, keyboard and mice and their hardware in general. But they have a part of it called Sonar, which lets you modify the audio settings on all of your hardware, even if it's not SteelSeries focused. So every download for that supports the channel directly, literally every single one. So if you do have like a few minutes to download that, give it a shot. I know a bunch of people who have downloaded it and been messing around with it, and they've been very much enjoying it. So I figured I'd do a quick shout out for that here as well. Hey, it supports the channel. It's free. It takes like 5 minutes, and you might find some good use out of it. Anyway, with that, let's get on to the Q&A. I don't think this one's going to be that long. I think I think I scrolled through real quick, and it's mostly comments about last week and less about less questions, but we'll see. # Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi. Hope all is well. Same to you. And happy holidays as well. I'm in a casual static that I enjoy being with. Already sounds akin to a question I've had the last couple of weeks. Only downside being our prog pace. Yeah, that's always the thing. So we are just now getting into P12. I've often wondered how your group and other top groups go about clearing raids in week 1, especially with no guides. Would you ever consider making a video of that process? How you determine what you need? I have done videos kind of like it before, but this was actually something I was directly considering ahead of the release of Dawn Trail, because if there's ever a time that someone's going to get into raiding as a brand new raider, that is probably the #1 time. Oh, new expansion, you know, they're already playing for the story, they're leveling a bunch of jobs, the raid's going to come out while they're already like kind of interested in playing the game. So that's a big one. So yeah, it is a lot about thought process, and like I said, I have made videos on it before, but at the same time, it just comes down to wanting to understand the game and play more. But I can tell you this, what always happens in the casual prog groups is one person, at least one person, is always a little discontent with the prog pace. And that's usually the first person to leave a group. So when I saw this question start, I thought that was going to actually be the end bit. So like, oh, now I'm trying to think about, you know, do I want to move on to something that's a little bit more hardcore? Because that's how raiders begin. They get in the door, they figure out if it's something they like, and then how much they like it and how much they want to do. That's the stepping stone. That's the natural progression of things. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi. Sure, you've been asked this before, but what got you into streaming, and when did you know it would be doing it full time? So streaming was something I think most people start by looking at streaming as the, man, I wish I could do that thing, before you really even fully understand it. I think the education from viewers now about what it takes to do full-time streaming is a little bit better, although there's still definitely some misconceptions about it as a whole. For me, it was literally just I watched other people stream, and then I started doing it just on my own time. But the big thing was probably I did a charity event for Gaming for Good, and they were working with the Save Children Foundation, and through the process of that, I got to 1,000 YouTube followers, which let me monetize YouTube. On top of that, I was making Final Fantasy 14 videos ahead of its, release. I was doing like weekly info just videos that had like 1,000, 2,000 views. And then it just kind of built up over time. I was hyping this game up for months and months and months before it came out. Good steady flow of information that a lot of people were starting to look into because, they wanted to see it, come out. And then I just decided I would stream with that. So I built my YouTube following to some capacity first, and then just translated that into Twitch, and they both just kind of worked out. But charity was really the big thing. I always said that one day I wanted to make enough money that I could just kind of ride off of like not really needing to do much for my own personal living. And then I would like to do charity, as many charity events throughout a year as I could. Obviously, life didn't work out that way, and it's very far from working out that way, let me tell you. But that was always the initial notion, because I got in because I enjoyed doing charity work and helping people out. And I don't think I've ever felt like I fully repaid that due, in what got me in the door in the first place. So maybe one day. But I'm not super optimistic, and if it does happen, it'll be many years down the line. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Howdy, Haps. Hi. Hope you had a good week. Good one this time. Besides the obvious, what caught your attention during the Game Awards? Any nominees you felt got snuffed? What personally grabbed the most attention for me was OD, being a fan of Jordan Peele's work and style of horror. Yeah, I think that was probably a highlight. Let me be very clear. I am not a Kojima stan by any stretch of the imagination. I personally think he should have been making movies and shit. Like, we know he's making a Death Stranding movie or a series or whatever it was. I think that's just where the space he should be in anyway, because I quite frankly don't find anything he's made to be that like I feel like Jeff is like elevates him to this status that's way above what he actually is. And like Death Stranding, if any other developer made that exact game down to the script, the actors, everything, no one would make a fuss about it. I guarantee you, it's literally just because Kojima made it. I don't think any work he's done has been that revolutionary and game-changing. It's been good in some cases, but like groundbreaking. Like there are moments like in the old Metal Gear Solid games, the really old ones, that stand out like that. Controller swapping and the memory card bit, letting the sniper die because you just waited, things like that. Those are awesome, and I'm going to give credit for that. But in terms of like actual like pushing video games to like a new height. Like I don't know. It's just he's just weirdly elevated to this god status that feels like way beyond what he's actually accomplished in his career. But the Jordan Peele thing, I saw that and I was like, okay, now you have my attention. Because on the flip side, in terms of filmmaking, Jordan Peele has given me tons of horror enjoyment. I'm not a big horror guy, but what he crafts is something that kind of goes above and beyond horror and thriller and adventure and all that stuff. But as for the thing that caught my attention that I haven't mentioned, Blade. I am actually, of all the old comic properties that I'm always actively hoping they'll revive and treat with some respect, Blade is pretty much at the top. Not just because of the Wesley Snipes movies either, but you know, they definitely help. And so I was looking forward to the new movie, but I don't remember if they said they shelved that or if it just pushed back. I don't remember what it was. And so the game on the same hand, I mean, it's just equally as exciting for me there. Especially because those devs also have some really good, even if Deathloop, it hurts my soul to think about. They've clearly proven that they know how to make really good games. So giving them Blade as a third-person action adventure, I mean, that gets me excited as well. So that's the other one that the other bit that really caught me off guard that I was really excited for was Blade. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. Been liking your videos for a while now. Thanks. Started finding your channel during 15 in its early days. Oh, those were the early days. Since then, started finding you again when I started out 14. Now onto my twofer question. Well, welcome for your question. Someone who does not have a lot of experience with current content savages, but I do have it from soloing older ones. So wondering how good of an idea it would be to just jump into ultimates. Okay, let me say this. I laughed because I didn't see that was where that... I thought you were going to say, you know, do you think I'd do okay in Savage? You just skipped that and went right to Ultimate. There is nothing wrong, technically, if you are a capable enough individual of learning to swim in the deep end, I suppose. That being said, soloing old Savages in no way speaks to your ability as a raider. So I am of the opinion that one should walk before they run, crawl before you walk, and step into things gradually, because you need kind of like a proving ground. The only way I would jump all the way into Ultimates from never actually doing an on-content Savage is if friends of mine said, yeah, whatever, we don't care how you do, just come on in, give it a shot. Or if any group did that. But in terms of just like opting to sign up and like be a part of a group and like they're going to see that lack of credential and they themselves are going to be a little bit, you know, I don't know about that kind of, you know, emotion towards it. So I'm not for what you've suggested, even though you could totally do it. My other question is gearing, if it were to be enough to just have current gear or BIS. Well, I mean, for old Ultimates, it doesn't even matter. I mean, current gear is essentially BIS for the old Ultimates. The exception, of course, to that being specifically you want relic weapons, you know, upgraded. I think the Mandervilles are now the best across all of the Ultimates, all the downsynced Ultimates. I'm fairly certain at this point. So yeah, as long as you have the Manderville, then you should be good. Don't even wait for January. Like the one that's there now is fine, but the one in January should be a little bit better. But other than that, yeah, you don't need to worry that much. Like if you're a healer or a tank, there's reasons to want to sink down or like get some more level appropriate gear, I should say. But even then, most people don't care. It's the old Ultimates don't really have much in the way of checks anymore anyway. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Greetings, salutations, and a Merry Christmas, Mr. Happy, and an extra hello in case someone forgot. Happy holidays to you as well. I'd like to buy 11 now while the discount is available. However, I won't be playing it for a while as I intend to play through all of them in some loose order starting with Final Fantasy 1. My question is, when does the free month actually start? Is when I add the service. It's when you activate the service account. So when you like put in the activation code and you make the account active, that is when the 30 days kick in. So it's not just when you log in though. It's specifically when you add the service account, and basically what it'll do is during the sign up process, it's going to get to a point where it asks for your credit card information. Even though you get the first month free, it's going to ask for that. Or it's going to ask for a payment method, I suppose, in general, even though you're going to get those first 30 days free. When you go past that step, that's when your 30 days are going to begin. It doesn't matter when you log in as long as you've done that step. Like that is the start of the 30 days. I almost said 30 minutes. The 30 days. Hashtag Happy Mondays. Simple. Hey, Haps. Hi. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. 2 questions. 1, do you think the state of 14 is acceptable as a paid service at the moment? There's just very little content ahead of us before 7.0. It just feels like a massive miscalculation from the devs, seeing so many people start to unsub with very little interest in the January update. What do you think they could have done differently to fill the time between expansions? So I'm going to start with that. They could always do something different. Not having an exploration zone is probably the biggest miscalculation. That doesn't necessarily keep everyone involved, and I'm going to get to that point here in a second, but I feel like that is something that is drastically misconsidered when they thought of when they were thinking about wanting to do a relic and not wanting to do an exploration zone. The new things that they tried, unfortunately, do not fill the space quite well enough. That being said, whether or not it's acceptable as a paid service is literally, that's the point of it being a monthly subscription service. Not everyone plays at the same pace. Not everybody gets the same amount of time, and not everybody plays for the same reason. There are people who are going to spend the next 6 months working through deep dungeon solos, ocean fishing titles, big fishing, trying to get a house, decorating their house, hanging out with people at their house, going to RP venues, hanging out in Limsa, and just shouting bullshit. People who are still, as you saw in the earlier comment, working on P12, raiding with their groups, trying to learn how to get into raiding. People who are going to start raiding when the tier itself actually unlocks. People who are looking forward to having the story in 6.55, as well as the various little things like the updated Manderville weapons, the updated Manderville story, the Asura trial, all those little things, the allied beast tribe quest. There's people who have like only 1 level 90 or just started playing who have to work through all that different leveling. Maybe they want to try features they never unlocked before, like squadrons, which are great for leveling from levels 20 to 55. The reason why any given person is playing, or the point in time at which a player decides to start playing, largely determines those things. But that doesn't mean that everyone then has something to do all the time. And if you don't, then you don't pay for it. That's the thing. Nobody's holding a gun to your head except for maybe the house that you don't want to lose and saying, hey, you have to stay subscribed this entire time. That's the beauty of it. And that then communicates to the devs, maybe we screwed something up and didn't consider this well enough. Not paying is a great way of communicating to developers that you were dissatisfied with something. It can also just communicate that you didn't have the time nor just wanted to spend time doing other things, but it has a mixed effect. So I don't think you should ever be trying to convince yourself it's worth paying for, nor should somebody else try to convince you that it is, because their reasons for paying for it monthly or playing it monthly are just, they're not going to be the same as yours. What you should do is, if you feel that way, as long as you don't want to lose a house, I got to keep adding that caveat, is step away and not pay, because that lets the devs know that you didn't want their service for one reason or another. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps and Cats. They're being very peaceful today, actually. On the topic of door bosses, where you mostly praise Xdeath for being a good one, are there any others you feel come close? Also, how would you feel on more fights like E4S with Titan, where the second form is still a part of a single fight? I prefer that every time. I don't like door bosses. I don't like, more specifically, I don't like how frequently they're used, and I don't like how they are designed now. Like, a door can be a fun boss, but the fact that the door boss is essentially the first half of bosses, and then the second boss is the second half of boss, I like less than, here is your gateway to the real boss. Prove that you can beat this, and now you've got the real bit of prog. It makes doing the shorter door bosses come with the biggest advantage for me of re-clearing them when you go into a new instance. You know, if you successfully one pull them, it takes 4 minutes. Even if you wipe 2 or 3 times, you've only wasted 10 or 15 minutes. Whereas you can waste, 20 minutes on 2 or 3 attempts of a door boss for, the way that they're designed modern, where they're like 7.5, 8 minutes. And if you get like closer to the end of that, it could just be super frustrating. And it's just, I don't know, it's just never fun. It puts a lot of pressure on people to perform in very short spurts and to perform very well, since those checks are usually very tight for the short bosses like Xdeath. So the only other door boss I feel like gets a good enough credit, probably DSR. The door boss in DSR is not very long at all. It serves as a great means of communicating the lore and the story, especially when it gets called back to later. And it just kind of, it just stands out kind of well enough on its own. It's a pretty good initial phase for DSR, given how much PTSD that's actually given me. So that, and then I think if I'm just thinking about sheer quality of boss, most of the time the door bosses are actually better than the second phase, which is crazy, but it's happened so frequently that it's like it can't be an accident at this point. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Good morning, Mr. Happy's cats. Listen, they're not here. They're off in the back. There's something that we hopefully may know more about in 3 weeks' time. I've also been wondering, since they announced a new limited job, I'd like to get your 2 cents on what you think we might see or want. It's going to be Beastmaster. I also do think, so I see the question continues on. You think it'll be its own thing, or do you think it'll play in content alongside Blue? Its own thing. They're not going to mix and match limited jobs. What I want them to do is irrelevant. What's going to happen is that they're all going to operate in their own little universes that are not going to interact with each other. So I'm just shocked that they're even doing another one. Like, I don't know. I didn't think that the reception to Blue Mage was warm enough that it would warrant a second attempt. Unless they think they can do, like they learned something with Blue Mage, and they think they can do it better, so they're giving it the good old second try, and they have done that a lot. I don't know. I'm just surprised. Like, I like Blue Mage. I don't play it a lot, though. And, like, would I say that they should just make a slew of limited jobs? No, it's like, okay, that was a fun idea. Maybe just step away from it. Nope, they're doing another. So it's going to be a while. It's like at the end of 7.x that we're going to be seeing it. They said late 7.x, but we'll see. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Oh, I've done that a lot before. I see a lot of people that do that. Hello. Hi. I was hoping to get some cat advice. All right, I'll see what I can do. My fiance and I are planning on finally moving into our own place and wondered if you had any advice on helping a cat get adjusted to a new environment. It's not her first move, but I still want to make it as smooth as possible. Honestly, the only thing is to let them out of their carrier in a small room and then let them take their time. Like, that's it. That's like Aloha literally takes less than 5 minutes to just explore the whole apartment. He literally doesn't have an adjustment period. Ivy, on the other hand, has to hide for like, she had to hide, I think, under the bed for like 12 to 16 hours before she was finally ready to come out. But some cats can take days or like a week even. You just got to put them in a small, like I said, the bathroom is normally a pretty good spot. But they just need time to like realize that this is their new environment. They take the time to mark stuff, and it's usually not that bad. But it's going to depend on your cat. Your cat might instantly just start walking around and going nuts and having a grand old time marking everything. But if not, then small room and be patient. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hi. First time poster. Welcome. Long time lurker. Not anymore. I'm the only person who plays 14 in my group of friends, and they've been wondering if they should play it over WoW and their long time commitment. I'm aware that experiencing the story, which is the main focus, is like 400 hours now. I wouldn't say it's 400 hours. That depends on what you consider the story or like the pace of play. So I've tested this and I have played through them in recent years just to make sure. Each story on average takes, if you're watching all the cutscenes, about 60 hours per expansion, including all of the extra patches as well. Heaven's Word was a little longer than A Realm Reborn now, and Stormblood was about the same as that. So you're usually looking at, that's 180 hours for Stormblood. I'd say 300 hours is the more realistic amount of time, but that is just main story and what you have to do for main story, and not like including going through and unlocking all the side quests and trying out the different side stories and like that. When you get into that, yeah, it definitely approaches closer to the 400 hours. And also, A Realm Reborn, not nearly as bad as people. It's not as good as everything else, but it's not nearly as bad as everyone gives it credit for. I was actually shocked at how much better it felt after the changes they made. How would you sell 14 to someone that's interested mostly in endgame? I mean, do WoW players not kind of go nuts for the cinematics that they get nowadays? Is that not a thing? Like, just imagine if your whole game was, lower graphic WoW cinematics. I mean, I don't ever recommend trying to force someone to like convince someone to play a game. Like, if they look at it and they don't want to play it, I mean, what good could come out of like, yeah, maybe sometimes they just get past their initial hangups and they fall in love, but it's just like, I never find it worth the effort to try to convince someone to like the thing that I like, because it's not that it doesn't matter whether or not they like it. There's no reason to try to make someone likes something they're not sure they want to try or like. But if they're just kind of on the fence, tell them about the free trial. If they find out that it's a zero commitment, they might be more willing to do it, especially between major releases for World of Warcraft. Just being, yeah, the free trial, like, there's not, like, all the social features are mostly limited, but it's free up to level 70, and you got the first 2 expansions, and you can get a feel for it. They don't have to pay a dime to commit to it. Maybe you'll find out you like the story. Like, it's a free trial. Just tell them about the free trial. Hit them with the free trial meme, and you'll be good. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hopefully this week, time has been better than the last one. Much better. The question for you is something you've brought up on occasion. Just choked on my spit there. But I feel like something the dev team hasn't been acknowledging as a big of an issue is your one change for every job video. You mentioned reducing the damage variance on Gunbreaker's double down by making it a lower potency direct crit. Seems to me like it's solving the wrong problem. Oh yeah, well the only reason I said that is because I don't think direct crits are going anywhere. So like I said, all those changes are within the bounds of how they currently do their job design. And within those current bounds, direct crits are how they create some degree of consistency with things. So making something an auto direct crit ensures that they have a damage range that's consistent, and not doing that makes it wildly variable, which means if its potency is really high, the variable is really high. I feel like crit and direct hit stats have become so oppressive as of late. They've been oppressive since direct hit was put into the game. Like, bottom line. I think they should revert them back to just affecting rates. Direct hit shouldn't exist. There's never been a reason for direct hit to even exist. It literally just adds more damage variance. Get rid of it. It doesn't need to be here. Like, yeah, you could do other stuff by like adding a separate crit damage stat from crit rate, or adding a direct damage stat. Like, you could do things by like breaking them apart or lowering their scaling, or but I think it's just removing direct hit. There's no reason for it to be in the game at all. They just wanted a replacement for accuracy. So any of those things work. It's just a matter of what goal you're trying to fix. And I don't think they're trying to fix the problem of damage variance. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe they'll prove us wrong. But that just doesn't read to me like that's what they're trying to solve. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Greetings and salutations, Happy. Hello. I really dislike the 2-minute cooldown meta. We get so many of these 2-minute cooldown meta. It's not your fault. Like, obviously I don't expect you to know every question that's been done. So all the problems coming when people ask for it, and since I've been out of touch with the game since the release of the last Savage tier, I wonder if there's any word of the devs about that going into Dawn Trail. No, there's been no word about it yet. I also don't like it. I know you also don't like it very much. So what is the word on the street considering the streamlined 2-minute cooldown? Only thing they've said about it as of late is that it is absolutely a result of feedback. And I completely agree. You said it yourself. For years, people have been trying to get things to the point where they feel comfortable on them regardless of the job. And 2-minute meta has been in response to that. So the player base, specifically the rating player base and their feedback, brought this on themselves. Now, I did also say in a recent video that it is one way to solve the problems that they were presented, and that they went with the lowest, they tend to go with lowest common denominator solutions for problems. That in itself is a problem as well. However, that's not your question. Your question is, have they mentioned anything? No, the only mention has been that they've acknowledged that it's part of player feedback, and or it's a result of player feedback. And while that's correct, player feedback is saying swing it the other way now. So hopefully because of that, we'll see changes, but there's no word on that at all. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. A Merry Chrysler and early Mr. Happy New Year to you and the cats. First to make the joke, Mr. Happy New. Every year it's tradition. I couldn't help but notice the Warframe shirt you wore in the last video. Yeah, I was at the Warframe after party at TwitchCon. Right. I was curious what your thoughts on the game were. Did you ever get into it? Yeah, I got pretty into it for several months around the time that Fortuna came out. With the months leading up to Fortuna, I should say. And I have mixed feelings about Warframe. I really like the game at its core. Like, I like the actual like gameplay loop of what is involved in, you know, in any sort of given mission or the grind or any of that. What I run into issues with is the feature bloat, and not only is it feature bloat, but it's also bloat islands. So like all of the different features and content they release are all like separate paths of progression that do not interact with one another at all, or do in like very minuscule ways. I've often stated that that can be a strength for some games. Final Fantasy XIV, I feel some of its best content is when it takes the gameplay formula and allows you to adjust it in places like Eureka, Bosia, Deep Dungeons. They have their own segmented, you know, in a nutshell progression. But they make efforts to make that reach back into the traditional item level progression by ensuring that even if it's whether or not what you get from those things is going to be BIS, there's something else that you can take with you when you leave that has some capacity for usefulness somewhere else. And that could be even just down to like the mounts and the minions that you get from like lockboxes and hordes and whatnot. There's some tie back to it. Warframe really struggles with just constantly adding things on top of things on top of things on top of things. And it's so overwhelming. Every time I log in, I feel like there's a billion different directions I can go. And technically the answer is to go to all of them, just one at a time. And something like that, just, it doesn't click super well for me. So as much as I enjoy, you know, running around on my Valkyr Prime or my Atlas Prime, or, you know, what was the one that came out before Fortuna? The Umbra, the Umbra one, the first Umbra one. I don't remember what it was called. It's something Umbra. But either way, like, I enjoy running around and doing the content on those and like the content they've actually crafted. I just can't be asked to like balance the billion different gameplay options they put out. I'm hoping Soulframe is a bit more reined in all honesty, because I really want to enjoy that. And it's really hard to do. And I was right. So there weren't very many questions. Most are comments about last week's, I guess, questions talking about the internet issue, weekly reminder that it's Monday, handful of other stuff. I like the one that's at the very bottom. Last week, I do remember answering a question about, I don't really remember exactly what the question, it was about buffs and nerfs, like mid raid tier, and like why they don't do it or something like that. And I like this comment says, because they aren't Blizzard, who can't balance for jack shit. Except for the alliance raids. It's like, yeah, like I can see the alliance raids that, you know, they've clearly decided they need to be a certain difficulty level and aren't backing down. But they we don't in Final Fantasy IV. You know, it is crazy to me to think that World of Warcraft can like buff or nerf like a boss by 50% HP, or like an ad or like a phase or like any of those things by like such massive numbers in the middle of a race. And that's just like a normal thing, you know? Like, our devs drastically apologized to us for like a 1% and 1.5% nerf. Like, we got a massive write-up about how much they screwed up, what in the development process led to the screw-up, how it was being rectified, and it was for a percent. Like, a very deserved percent, but a percent. Imagine if we had a raid with a boss that got nerfed by fucking 30% in any capacity. I mean, you kind of have that back in Midas. They removed one of the 2 landmines during the first part of the gauntlet in Midas. And that's like a 50% nerf if you think about it. There were a ton of other things that happened there too, but like that's a big one. But could you imagine if like Athena, they were like, oh yeah, we're just going to nerf her HP by 30%. And that's right. Because here's the thing. That it goes from being like, a lot of times when WoW's nerfs happens, it goes from like teams thinking they're still like in the process of figuring it out and maybe it's a little overtuned, to blasting through that exact like check that they were struggling with a day later and like being shocked by it. I mean, was it Razgareth? I don't remember if that's how you say it, where like it despawned for Echo like mid pull and then respawned on like the next pull they like world firsted. Was that Razgareth? I gotta look back. I remember something like that, something absolutely insane happening like that at some point. Maybe they got through the phase. Maybe it wasn't they cleared it. Maybe they just got through the phase in like one pull after that. But yeah, there's some craziness. Yeah, that's a funny one. Yeah, that's a funny thing to definitely consider. Anyway, that's it for the comments. That's it for the questions. And that's it for this Christmas special. You might be wondering if I had like a Christmas hat for that. I literally don't own one. I actually did try buying one, but they were like all sold out near me. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to ask your questions in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to tune in for my birth week streams. Again, the Final Fantasy Shuffler, the Dark Souls 1 crowd control, the Lethal Company crowd control is another thing that I saw that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, be sure to tune in. You can watch that on YouTube or Twitch, mind you. It's on both now. So, with that, everyone enjoy your holidays. And, wait. Is it January 1st next Monday? Is it? I don't... Phone! My phone is literally giving me the hardest time right now. Will not let me close the app. Is it the first or the... You'd think I would just count the days. Listen, it's been a long week, right? Yeah, it is the first. All right. Yeah, I should have known. Add 7 because there's only 31 days. Idiot. Right. That means next time I see you for Mondays with Mr. Happy, I'll see you next year. Yeah, I did all that just to make that joke. I'm going to go to the gym now and shut up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.